for joining us tonight. First at 6, we have new documents and new details in the alleged plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
It comes as the men facing federal charges in this case push for more evidence to be released, with the government pushing back. Our Michael Martin is live in the newsroom with more. Michael?
Angeline, Doug, these documents are giving us a better idea of what's going on behind the scenes in the case. The big thing we're learning, that there may have been an attempt on one confidential witness's life. The government saying it appears a drive-by shooting targeted one of the witnesses in April.
The document that the government filed is just full of communications. Not only communications, but steps taken and to advance the agreement to commit the crime.
Documents filed this week by the government present a new round of roadblocks for the 4 men still facing federal charges in the alleged conspiracy to kidnap and potentially kill Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. So far, only one man has agreed to cooperate with prosecutors. Ty Garbin was sentenced to just over 6 years in prison on Wednesday for his role in the alleged plot.
One thing that does happen is that certain people are essentially offered cooperation deals, and that can sometimes strongly support the government's case.
His 4 co-defendants still deny their guilt and have continued to file motions with the court asking the government to hand over all audio and video collected by the 12 confidential informants who worked the case.
There was various informants working undercover, and there were actually FBI agents working undercover as part of a larger group that was supposed to be conspiring to kidnap the governor.
But the government says no, that revealing more would jeopardize the safety of their secret informants, saying one of the men charged, Barry Croft, continues to try and drum up potentially dangerous support for his cause via phone calls and interviews from jail, writing that even if Croft does nothing to specifically promote retaliation, the defendant's extremist sympathizers might act on their own to intimidate or silence witnesses before trial.
Yeah, the government absolutely is they have an obligation to release anything that's exculpatory, but they certainly do not have to turn over what law enforcement and military sort of always call sources and methods.
In fact, the government writes that there was an attempted drive-by shooting on April 12th where a co-worker of an undercover witness had a car fire 4 shots at him, writing that the co-worker, quote, bears a passing resemblance to the witness.
Keep moving.
The men's lawyers have also tried to argue that their words and actions should be protected under the First Amendment.
I have zero patience for immoral coward criminals.
Asking the court to change jury instructions during their trials based on something referred to as the Brandenburg test.
They want the court to apply something called the Brandenburg test, which is the Supreme Court's test that applies to a situation where somebody's charged with incitement. And incitement is somebody's speaking, there seems to be an audience, something dangerous might happen. It sounds like they're advocating for illegal conduct. Conspiracy is when 2 people actually enter into an agreement to commit a crime.
In the government's response, they also reveal new communications in which the men apparently discuss attacking public health officials. Defendant Brandon Caserta allegedly saying in a group chat, quote, how about we find who is shipping the vaccines and then accost them and destroy the shipment? Doctors who advocate vaccines, bullet to the face right in their own home. Buildings manufacturing vaccines, blow them up. I'm not kidding about any of this.
No matter what conspiracy test you apply in this case, they've got it. They've got the communication to agree, and they've got steps taken to further the agreement. Government does not have to wait until a conspiracy is imminent. But I mean, that's the whole point right? In a conspiracy case.
And the 4 men still facing federal charges in the case are set to go to trial in mid-October. We'll bring you all those updates as the case continues to move forward. For now, though, live in the newsroom, Michael Martin, Fox 17 News.